Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we're diving into something that's always fascinated me, something that's incredibly present in our relationships, yet often goes completely unacknowledged: silence. Genevieve, it's funny, we spend so much time talking about how to communicate, but what about when we're not talking?
Ramsey, it's such a brilliant topic. Silence, right? It can be everything from a comforting presence, like sitting on a porch with someone you love and just enjoying the moment, to something absolutely deafening, full of tension and unspoken words. It's like a communication paradox.
Exactly. That's the core of it. We often associate silence with a lack of communication, but I think it's actually one of the most profound forms of it. It's a language all its own, you just have to learn how to read it. And sometimes, it's screaming louder than any words ever could.
Oh, absolutely. I've been in situations where the silence from a partner or a friend just told me everything I needed to know, good or bad. There's the comfortable silence, which is truly a mark of intimacy, a sign that you don't need to fill every void with words. That's a beautiful thing.
That comfortable silence is gold. It means you're truly at ease, right? You're not performing, you're not trying to entertain. You can just be with someone. That's a huge milestone in any relationship, I think.
It really is. But then there's the angry silence, the one where someone is clearly upset, but instead of articulating it, they just shut down. And suddenly you're walking on eggshells trying to figure out what's going on, and often that just makes things worse.
Oh, the angry silence is a weapon sometimes, isn't it? It can be incredibly manipulative, or it can be a sign of someone who just doesn't know how to express their anger constructively. And it puts the other person in such a difficult position because you're left to guess, to assume, and often you're going to assume the worst.
That's so true. And what about the thoughtful silence, the kind where someone is genuinely processing something? Maybe they're trying to choose their words carefully, or they're just deep in thought. I think we, as listeners, sometimes jump the gun and interrupt it, thinking they're just taking too long.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm definitely guilty of that sometimes. I see a pause and my brain immediately thinks, opportunity to talk. But sometimes people need that space. It's not a silence against you, it's a silence for themselves, to formulate their thoughts, to really consider what they're going to say next. And respecting that is crucial.
So how do we differentiate between these? Because on the surface, a pause can look like a comfortable silence, or an angry silence, or a thoughtful one. It really comes down to context, and I think knowing the person.
Absolutely. Context is king. And knowing the person's usual communication style helps. If someone usually talks a lot and suddenly goes quiet, that's probably more significant than if someone is naturally more reserved. It's also about reading the nonverbal cues, right? Body language, facial expressions. These things often fill in the gaps that the silence leaves.
Definitely. A person's posture can tell you a lot. Are they leaning in, engaged, but just taking a moment to think? Or are they turned away, arms crossed, completely disengaged? That's a totally different type of silence, communicating a totally different message.
And there's also the avoidant silence. The one where someone just doesn't want to address an issue, so they just go quiet. They hope if they don't say anything, the problem will just disappear, or you'll drop it. That's probably one of the most frustrating forms of silence in a relationship, because it just prevents resolution.
Oh, the avoidant silence is a huge relationship killer, because it's not just a lack of words, it's an active refusal to engage. It tells the other person that their feelings or the issue at hand aren't important enough to be discussed, and that's incredibly damaging to trust and intimacy.
It truly is. It creates this void, and human beings, we don't like voids. We'll fill it with our own interpretations, and often, those interpretations are worse than the reality. It's like, if you don't tell me what's going on, my brain will create a story, and it's probably going to be a horror story.
Right. Our brains are wired for narrative, so if you give me silence, I'm going to create a plot, and I'm probably going to cast myself as the victim, or the villain, or something equally dramatic. It rarely leans towards, oh, they're just perfectly content and everything is fine.
Exactly. So how do we navigate this? When someone goes silent, how do we approach it constructively, especially when we're unsure of the intent behind it?
I think the key is to ask open-ended, non-judgmental questions. Instead of, why aren't you saying anything, which immediately puts someone on the defensive, try something like, hey, I notice things are a little quiet. Are you okay? Is there something on your mind you want to talk about? Or even, do you need some space right now, or would you prefer to process this together?
That's such a good point. Giving them options, right? You're acknowledging the silence without making it a crime. You're opening a door, not putting them on trial. And I think that's crucial because sometimes people go silent because they just don't know how to start the conversation, or they're overwhelmed.
Exactly. Sometimes silence is a cry for help. It's a sign of overwhelm or fear or sadness that they just can't articulate in words at that moment. And in those cases, pushing them to talk can be counterproductive. What they might need is just a gentle, "I'm here for you whenever you're ready," and then actually giving them that space.
And what about establishing boundaries around silence? Like, if you're someone who needs processing time, communicating that up front. Hey, sometimes when things get intense, I tend to go quiet. It's not because I'm mad at you, it's just how I process. I'll come back to you when I've had a moment. That kind of heads up can prevent so much misunderstanding.
That's such a brilliant strategy, Ramsey. Proactive communication about your silent communication style. It empowers both parties. The person who goes quiet feels understood, and the person on the receiving end isn't left in the dark, wondering what they did wrong. It builds a bridge rather than letting the silence become a wall.
Right, and it's also about validating the other person's experience. If someone says, "When you go quiet like that, I feel shut out," instead of getting defensive, acknowledging that, "I understand why you would feel that way. That's not my intention, but I see how my actions are having that impact." That's a huge step towards healthier communication.
Validation is everything. It's not about agreeing with their interpretation, necessarily, but acknowledging their feeling. "I hear that my silence makes you feel anxious, and I don't want that." That's a much more productive starting point than arguing about the intent of the silence itself.
So, we've talked about comfortable silence, angry silence, thoughtful silence, avoidant silence. Are there any other forms that stand out to you?
I think there's also respectful silence. This is the silence you give when someone else is speaking, truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk. It's about creating space for their voice. It's active listening, but instead of verbal cues, you're offering silent attention.
Oh, that's beautiful, respectful silence. It shows that you value what they have to say, that you're genuinely absorbing it rather than formulating your rebuttal. That's a form of presence, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a profound form of respect and connection. And sometimes, in those silences after someone has shared something deeply personal or vulnerable, the best response isn't words but just a shared moment of quiet understanding. A nod, a touch, just being present.
That's so true. I'm thinking of times when a friend is going through something incredibly tough, and you offer your condolences, but sometimes words just fall flat. And just sitting with them in their pain, in that shared silence, can be the most powerful comfort of all.
It's empathy in its purest form. It's saying, "I don't have the answers, but I'm here. I see you." And that's often far more healing than any platitude or advice could be. You're validating their experience without trying to fix it.
So it seems like the takeaway here is that silence is never just nothing, it's always communicating something. And our job, as people in relationships, is to become better interpreters and better communicators about our own silence.
Precisely. It's about self-awareness, asking ourselves, why am I being silent right now? What am I hoping to achieve? What message am I inadvertently sending? And then, for the receiver, it's about curiosity and compassion. Instead of judgment, approaching it with, "I wonder what this silence means for them right now."
And being okay with not always having an immediate answer. Sometimes the best thing to do is just sit in that silence for a moment, to let it breathe, before rushing to fill it. It takes patience, but I think it builds stronger, more authentic connections.
Absolutely. And just like any language, the language of silence gets easier to understand and speak with practice. The more you pay attention to it in your relationships, the more fluent you'll become.
Well said, Genevieve. It's a powerful reminder that communication isn't just about the words we say, but also about the spaces between them, and the understanding we bring to those spaces. Thank you for this insightful conversation.
Thank you, Ramsey. It's been a real pleasure diving into the quiet corners of connection. And to all our listeners, we hope this gives you a new perspective on the silence in your own relationships. Pay attention, listen closely, even when there's nothing to hear.
Indeed. Until next time, keep those conversations, spoken or unspoken, meaningful. We'll catch you later.